watching NETV. I'm Maha Siddiqui. The transfer orders of Justice Nikhil Karyal of the Gujarat High Court has triggered protests by lawyers who don't want him gone. A delegation of the association met the Chief Justice of India today. CJI Chandrachud, Justice Kaul and Justice M.R. Shah were present in the meeting. The Supreme Court judges have taken note of the views of the delegation and they've said that they will consider it. Members of the Gujarat High Court Bar Association had on Thursday passed a resolution strongly opposing the recommendation of the Supreme Court collegium to transfer Justice Nikhil Karyal to the Patna High Court and also abstained from work in protest. The resolution further said a representation would be sent to the CJI and other judges of the collegium to reconsider the recommendation of the transfer of Justice Karyal. Taking exception to the Gujarat High Court lawyers' protest over the proposed transfer of Justice Karyal to Patna High Court, Union Law Minister Kiran Rijiju has in fact said that every decision of the collegium supported by the government should not be questioned. Let me now go across to our guests who are joining us here on the show to discuss this issue that has become contentious, even though we have seen a meeting happening today between the CJI and the Bar Association that has been protesting. Tanveer Ahmed Mir, Senior Advocate Supreme Court, is here with us in the show. Sanjay Hegde, Constitutional Expert and Senior Advocate Supreme Court, and Aashutoshsrivastava, Advocate of the Supreme Court. Let me first go across to Tanveer Mir. Tanveer Ahmed Mir, has this kind of resistance been shown to a judge's transfer in the recent past? Are there any examples that come to your mind immediately, or is this one of a kind?
No, efforts to show resistance have been there before also, and I would call a spade here a spade when Honorable Justice Muralidhar was sought to be and transferred from Delhi High Court. The bar was extremely angry, and the circumstances in which then he was transferred was not liked by us at all. Suffice to say that, if you have strong lawyers' body, you have strong judges. The Gujarat Bar Association has shown some spine, and the transfer of judges sometimes is done when the dispensations in power see that their judgments are not to their liking. That is what we have been seeing for last 8 years, and this is an area of serious concern where what we expect as lawyers from the top judges is also to have complete probity and transparency in these matters, and the honorable judges should not be transferred only because they are passing judgments on merits which may not be liking to the dispensations in power here, there or everywhere. If otherwise it is routine, then obviously we have no cause.
Sanjay Hegde, the lawyers have called this a punitive step that has been taken against Justice Karyal, and hence they are protesting against it. This is not just opposition, but this is a grave allegation against the collegium as well. Would you say that's the case over here?
Well, the lawyers in Gujarat went to the Chief Justice's court in the Gujarat High Court. It was rather obvious that the Chief Justice in Gujarat also did not know about the transfer, and it was in a manner rather unprecedented as to what happened, that the lawyers also went and protested. Justice Karyal has been a judge for barely 2 years, and by all accounts he has done a good job, and it's only when something is seen as being totally unjust that lawyers actually, bar associations, put aside all kinds of differences. I was told that in the Gujarat High Court, cutting across committed party lines, lawyers from all parties said that this was not a transfer which they appreciated. Even as I speak to you, I'm watching a tweet which says that another Gujarat High Court judge was transferred on September 29, and the resolution of the collegium has just now been published. So this kind of smoke and mirrors kind of transfers, that is what possibly gets some bar associations agitated. But lawyers at times judge judges. We know normally when some transfers are warranted, they pass without comment. But when they are unprecedented or there is a sense that some injustice may have occurred to the judge concerned, it is heartening to know that lawyers have stood up for the judges.
All right.
Ultimately, you cannot have a strong judiciary in this country unless you have a strong bar. And I keep quoting those great words from Harry Potter, that it is important to stand up to our enemies, but sometimes it's more important to stand up to our friends.
Aashutoshsrivastava, even though the Union Law Minister seems to have taken a grim view of the protest by the lawyers, but the lawyers say that they are doing this for the preservation of judicial independence, and two of our panelists here have also pretty much weighed in on that count. The Telangana bar also seems to be protesting a similar transfer of Justice Abhishek Reddy to Patna High Court. Could this opposition, now that we are seeing from the Gujarat bar, open up further moves of what the Union Law Minister may look at as resistance, but ultimately what the lawyers believe is important to maintain independence of judiciary?
See, first of all, I feel that the litigants, the people of this country should not suffer because of any such long strike by the lawyers, because that is very, very important. But at the same time, the lawyers, they are also having the rights to protest in a manner which should not harm the litigants at the same time. Now, as we know that Article 124 talks about the elevation of judges in the Supreme Court, and also the Article 217 for the transfer and the elevation of judges in the High Court. We know that in the year 1973, when Justice A.N. Ray, he was elevated as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, surpassing 3 other senior most judges, and that created a lot of clash between the executive and the judiciary during that time, and that was again, it happened in the year 1977. And hence the entire matter came before the Supreme Court in 1982, and when the main issue involved was whether the President of India is having the absolute power for the appointment of judges, whether the the consultation of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is mandatory or not. And this was answered in negative, and it was said in that judgment that there should not be, it should not be binding on the President of India. Whatever the Chief Justice decides.
All right.
But the same was again challenged in the 1993 judgment, which then again it reversed that order and said, no, the President of India cannot have the absolute powers, but the Chief Justice will have also the say, and accordingly, the appointment can take place, and that lead to the emergence of this collegium system. And again in 1998, it was made mandatory that there should be 5 judges in total, one the Chief Justice of India and other senior most 4 judges of the Supreme Court to decide on these kind of issues so far as the appointment of the Supreme Court judges are concerned. And this all happened also with the High Court, that the 2 senior most judges along with the Chief Justice of the High Court will decide about the elevation of the judges to the High Court, and also about the transfer of the judges.
Right.
So as of now, we can say that the collegium system has, that provision as per the Supreme Court verdict itself, that they can decide even on the transfer. But since the Law Minister and the Chief Justice of India, they have said that they would look into the matter, I am sure that they will consider on whatever grounds they feel that whether it is correct or not correct, whether it should be sustained or not. So we'll have to see that way.
All right. So, Tanveer Ahmed, 2 points that have been raised by Aashutoshsrivastava here. First, that the litigants should not suffer in the process. And what we have seen today, Advocate Hardik Brahmbhatt, Secretary of GHCA, saying that they are not going to call off their strike, and the decision will only be taken tomorrow now at the general body meeting. Do you think after meeting the CJI today, a decision should have been taken to perhaps call off the strike immediately so that litigants don't suffer. I mean, at the end of the day, if everybody is fighting in the same direction for the independence of judiciary, then it should be a collective effort, isn't it? Because the CJI has said that this matter will be looked into, isn't it?
Well, for the lawyers community to launch their protest, sometimes there is no other option but except to see go on a strike, so that their voice is also heard, and by the highest corridors of power, be it the executive or even the highest of the collegium judiciary. I understand that no litigant should suffer, just because there is absence of work. That's a larger issue. We in our country are plagued with delays. 1 day delay will not bring the system crashing down. We have gone through 2 years of COVID, and we tried to do effective work on video conferencing, but that the work that you can do normally in a court will not be done. So let's not trivialize this issue from the point of view that all right, the litigant may suffer from a day's more protest or not. The larger issue is that whether the judges are getting transfer on account of normal transfer or punitive transfer. Now, please, the judges, when somebody accepts a constitutional post of a judge of the High Court, he is not, enabled to tomorrow to go on strike. He is a person who is shackled from all corners. He can't even go into a public gathering. He is there in the court, working day in and day out. So who will speak for the judges? It is the lawyers community who will speak for them. And we will not let our judges down, because if we let them down, we are letting ourselves down. In terms of protesting for unconstitutional, irregular and unjustified punitive transfers, we are actually serving the interest of the society at large.
All right, Sanjay Hegde, now on the one hand, there is this constant defense that is given for the collegium that it's the best system that could have been put in place, despite the fact that the government might think differently or the executive might think differently about it. On the other hand, today the collegium is being questioned over its decision on transfer of judges. So how do we read this dichotomy?
No, just because the system is very good doesn't mean that the system can't make mistakes. Even the best of systems make mistakes. The question is whether those mistakes are later corrected. I do believe that the lawyers were assured by the Chief Justice that these recommendations would be and their protests would be looked at. The Chief Justice has asked them to resume work, and I have no doubt that they will resume work as soon as it is expedient to do so. I do agree with Mir Saab that at times striking seems to be the only thing that makes people listen to protests. And when lawyers stand up for certain judges, especially when they unanimously stand up. I do think that the system will course correct.
All right. So the meeting has happened between CJI as well as two other judges from the Supreme Court, along with the Bar Association representatives from Gujarat. We'll have to wait to see what decision is taken in this matter. But many thanks to all three of you for joining us here on the discussion. With that, we're taking a very quick break. News and updates will continue. Stay with us.